Hello, world. Welcome back to another episode of After the Break. Here with me today, man, a special guest, the host of AVG Podcast, Block is Hot. What's happening, Avery? What's good with you, good brother?
Man, it's all good, man. It's all good. Maintain it, man. Thank you for having me on, man. I've been looking forward to this. It's been a long time coming.
Oh yeah, man. Time is always the thing. You know, seeing what we're seeing in the world, just in general within our communities, not just the Black community, but just communities in general. Because the youth are affected in all races, all cultures, and statistics aren't exclusive to one race. And our hearts, and I know mine, don't just care about our culture, man. So thanks for being with me.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Avery, man, we're gonna jump into this thing, man. We're gonna start it off, man. Your platform, the Block is Hot, man. The Block is Hot Media, AVG Podcast, man. Tell us all about it, man.
So, man, this journey for me, as far as podcasting, it started same as with my name, 9/11. Everybody knows what happened on 9/11, the tragedy that happened right here on American soil, with the towers going down. But my mother, God bless her soul, she even told me, like, after it happened, because it was like a damper. And not being selfish, but nobody's in a celebratory mood, especially when it first happened on 9/11, which you could understand why. So I didn't take it as a slight, but it was just despair and doom everywhere when, 9/11 happened. So my mom always, when she was living, wanted me to make sure that I knew that 9/11 was the best day of her life because I made her a mother for the first time. So as far as the platform, I'm all about turning a positive into a negative. AVG, I originally started that after my mom passed, because she would be the person that I would share a lot of thoughts with, man. She was my intellectual side, man. I bounced a lot of thoughts out of her. She loved my creativity. When I was doing music, I would write poems for her. Not even write, because I never did any writing, but I would do poems for her just off the top of my head when we were young. And so she always would push me to push my creative side out of me. So that's where the original platform came from. I would just do, and I know you're probably familiar with it, I would just do talking at first, and I would just get thoughts off my head. That was my way to kind of just clear my mind. And AVG, it was a play off my neighborhood. Started off with Canadian Village Gangsters, but it's accomplished, visualized goals is what it means now. So it's for anybody doing something positive, for anybody striving for a goal, whether it's weight loss, whether it's opening a business, a company, it encompasses all of that. It's just having a vision, having the wherewithal within yourself to stick to it and accomplish that. So that's how the AVG platform started. So it branched off now to Block is Hot Talk Media. That's with Jug. That's my co-host Jug, man. That's my guy. We do a lot of free-flowing conversation, and we just talk about the trending topics all around the world, permeating throughout the timelines, just stuff that we see and we give our opinion on. So that's where the Block is Hot came in. And then I've also branched off this year into something exclusive of AVG Sports Media. I love sports, coming from a dad that was a coach, been around sports all my life. So that's just a quick rundown of how all those platforms came together, what birthed it, how it came, how it turned just a negative into a positive. Man,
that's dope, and it's definitely something with purpose. Hey, man, I love it, man. So you mentioned fatherhood, right? So let me ask you a question. How has fatherhood changed your definition of what a strong man looks like in comparison to the version of what you saw growing up? If it has at all.
It has and hasn't, because I was raised by a strong man. So my version of what a strong man looked like might differ from a cat that might not have had a father figure in the household with him. But fatherhood, it taught me vulnerability. Because, it's like in our generation growing up, and that's my father included, like even with my uncles and stuff like that, when a little boy or something crying growing up, like, hey, man, toughen up. Don't show your emotions. So we were always taught to bottle stuff up, hold stuff in, not be, not just really show our emotions to the world because it was shown as a sign of weakness. Fatherhood taught me more so anything that sometimes you have to be vulnerable. Let your kids know it's okay not to be okay. You have bad days. My kids had to experience me losing both of my parents. So they had to see me, and I probably didn't break down in front of them because that's their grandparent at the same time. So I had to be strong for them. But I had to let them know, hey, certain days daddy's struggling. Daddy might not be mentally there. You might have to tell me something a couple of times, remind me something, because I might look like I'm engaged, but I might not be checked in. So just overall, fatherhood taught me vulnerability, and it also taught me that we're not always right. These kids these days are sharp, man. They have access to way more knowledge than we did at a way faster rate. Not to say they all know what to do with it at the same pace we did, because we was learning real time. It wasn't through a computer or through a phone. So they might not know how to translate it, but you don't want to play in these kids' face. So sometimes, with my kids, like I hear some people say, you can't be your kid's friend or something like that. But I had friendships with my parents, so I don't totally agree with that, but I understand where they're coming from, because certain kids, you cannot be their friend because they take that as a sign to play in your face. But
Right.
it taught me vulnerability and also just being able to admit when I'm wrong.
Man, with that growth, right? You
Hmm.
mentioned sometime just having vulnerable moments as a man and as a father. Self help on your solo journey, because you're also a husband as well. So how do
Hmm.
you prioritize your personal growth? You know what I'm saying? And not feeling like you're taken away from your family, because it does adds to your leadership and does actually add value to your family.
Exactly. And one of my favorite sayings, and I'm quite sure you know it, man. I follow your platform as well, and I know you're open minded, deep thinker. But one of my favorite sayings that I've taken since growing up: you cannot pour from an empty cup. So I know I'm no good to my family if I'm empty. So sometimes I have to do stuff to recharge. And like I say, my platforms, they kind of give me that outlet to just, mentally recharge and do something I enjoy. I love conversation. I love a good debate. I love having my critical thinking skills challenged. I love trying to put a positive message out there, something for someone to grasp to. So when I feel like I'm at my best is when I have done stuff to recharge myself so I can be of value to my family. It's my wife, because she's been there with me. Like, for those that don't know, like I've been with my wife since my sophomore year in high school. We had like a minor split up when I was in the military and she was in college, but we found our way back together. So she's seen me go from a young boy to a young man to a full grown man. So it's not nothing I can do that, or emotion I can hide, that if I'm down, that I'm around her, that she's not going to pick up on, and it's vice versa. So to me, to be of service to my family, I just have to make sure I stay engaged no matter what I'm going through. It's still one of the things we were taught growing up, especially from my father, is that you still have to be that leaning post. Even when, I might not have everything in me that day to be strong, I still have to make sure they're good, because ultimately, when they're good, I'm good. If they're broken, I'm in shambles. So I need to operate at a level where I can at least maintain them and help them going through whatever they're going through. Because I've always been a selfless person. It's never been like, nothing I do, I try to make it about me. So my overall thing is just to make sure I'm of value through them, because when they're good, that replenishes me more than anything.
Through your background and your life experiences, through your journey, the military, like you mentioned, your father, which we'll touch on him in a minute. Having those examples of leadership, having those examples of strength, those are great morals and principles and a solid foundation of growth into manhood. So, what are some things that you developed or picked up from that you carry today into manhood, into fatherhood?
The number one thing, like you said, we'll get on to my father a little later in the interview, but the number one thing that I've learned from him before I even left to go to the military, because he also was a Vietnam vet. So I was primed, even without knowing it, for military discipline and stuff moving forward in my life without even knowing it. But the number one thing I've learned to him is, like I said, my selflessness, being a servant unto others, and respect. I always tell people I learned from my dad, and my dad wasn't no street guy, but I learned from my dad how to interact from the block to the boardroom. And when I say interact, all of his partners, these weren't no Bible toting dudes. It wasn't like my uncle, difference maker daddy, and my uncles on my mom and them side. Like them was gangsters. Like them wasn't no dudes you play with. But he had friends, like we'd be riding home football practice or something. He see his partners under the tree or something. They might be drinking. He ain't gonna try to go there and rail mode. They know what he do. They respect his position, but he'll go over there, holler at them, fellowship for a minute. Hey, I get out the car here, introduce me to his partners, let me know what they did growing up. I hear life stories, and I just learned a level of respect that even he would talk to maybe a guy that's not doing his best or having his best moments as far as life. And I would see him interact with that guy, and he would give them the same level of respect. If I see him at a citywide revival or at a church, or we're visiting a church home, that he would greet the head preacher with, or he did stuff with city council and stuff like that. And the level of respect never wavered. So that's was one of the main lessons I learned in life that I wanted to carry on. That I didn't let people's position or title dictate what type of respect I gave them. I feel like respect is a baseline thing of how we should treat humans, is how you want it reflected back to you. So respect and selflessness was one of the two of the main things that I learned growing up around my father and my mother. Just that's how I carried myself.
And your father, which you mentioned, he built the community through the physical church in this digital era. Because in a way, this is kind of like our ministry. You know, this for me, this is a way of me give. Yeah, this is a way for me to give back to the community, to give the community a voice without my boots being on the ground because I'm no longer in the community. And I will say to the audience, you actually the person who inspired me to go ahead and do it. Because
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I heard about your podcast. About you started about 4 or 5 years ago or better on Spotify.
Yep.
And everybody check them out on Spotify, man. And so I want to ask you, man, in this era, right? Everything with people's platform, they're always trying to get clout. They're doing stuff for clickbait. They don't care about character. They just want the views and the looks and the likes. So, man, how do you maintain the integrity in that? And do the clicks and views really matter to you?
With anything you do, you want to, because like a lot of things that I tell people, what I see wrong with this generation is that I just call it the microwave era. They looking for instant gratification. But the one thing that my parents, both parents, taught me is just authenticity. You're good no matter what room you walk in. Like, if I was a manager at a hospital, these people were way more educated than me, had way more schooling than I did. But I would always enter the room as myself. Authenticity. And people can appreciate authenticity. I'm not trying to get online and act like I was the toughest guy on the block. I didn't sell 1,000 bricks, but I know that world. I've had people in that world. I've been attached to people in that world. I'm not going to try to say, make you think I was about to get drafted out of high school, but I've been around sports long enough. I've been in that world. I've been attached to people in position to make it to the league. I got friends. So my whole thing is I try to stay authentic with whatever message I'm trying to convey on whatever that topic is for that, because people feel that. And just to give you an example what I mean, and these not a knock on these brothers, I'm just using these for an example. Like with Bubba Dub and Drewski, when you create a character, sometimes people want to meet that character. They could be just getting off the plane from Atlanta. They could have been going to an event, like say my mom passed, and I'm not saying nothing about a family member passing for them, but they could have went and had something that drained them mentally. And they're just not there to be that trash or Drewski. You walk up to them with that energy. They want that in action. They want what they see online. What you see online with me is truly what you get. I'm a laid back cat. I lead with respect because I demand respect in return. I'm never gonna get out of line with nobody. I'm not gonna try to prove nothing through a camera, calling people out or nothing like that. So, do I want views and engagement? Of course, that's what we all do it for. But I want authentic views and engagement. I don't want you to come to my platform and thinking I'm a circus act. I'm not gonna be performing and doing nothing out of character for me that I'm not comfortable with or nothing like that. And I have a mouth, like I say, my uncles and all that. My dad was a preacher. He used to always mix with me. He was like, "You remind me so much of my brother Lionel." My dad was a preacher, and he always allowed me to operate in my skin. He knew that wasn't my journey. That was his journey. So I got a mouth. So you might hear cuss words here or there. I'm not over, I was in the military. I'm not cussing like a sailor, but sometimes I might curse to get my point across, but it's all authentic. I'm not trying to do nothing that if you didn't interact with me on a real setting, that you wouldn't get that same type of interaction for. And that's just always been the way I went about my platform, man, being authentic and being true to myself.
And you hear those guys all the time say, when I'm in certain places, if I'm in the airport, if I'm in a restaurant, don't approach me. I'm not that guy all the time. It's for the camera. You know what I mean? That type of motion and behavior is fitting for them because they want the views. They're doing it as a job. Like I said before, me personally, I'm not doing it for the views. It'd be great if it comes. However, the authenticity behind the purpose of why I'm doing it is not for them.
There you go.
And so I know, like you mentioned Difference Maker, right? He's a prime example of that. He talks about it all the time, how people that are doing the righteous thing in life, who are doing good, never typically gets the proper shine. And we've seen it all the time, and I'm a firm believer that there are more people doing good than bad. And the option to do well and do good is way broader than the option to do fucked up stuff. And so, but people typically choose the other path. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so, but unfortunately, that's what we are in the world today. And
It's
so,
enticing.
yeah, I mean, because it looks like they're winning. It
It
looks like they're
looks
winning.
like it will.
Yeah, the characters winning. The characters winning, man.
If you look, and not to get too political, but if you look at the highest office on the land and it just trickles down, it's hard to make kids think that the common man or the guy that's not as loud and boisterous. It's hard to sell that when you see everything online. Even how the music industry hijacked our music. Back in the day, we had the KRS Ones, the Public Enemies. We had the
Yeah,
NWAs, but we had options. I'm not saying what
yeah,
they're doing
yeah,
now because I don't want to be the old cat. Get off my lawn. We on this. Nah, we had
yeah.
cussing and gangster rap and all that, but we had options. What they've done to
Right.
this youth, what I see, that's been a
Mhm.
attack on the black community mentally is they took away the options. They don't even give they suppress artists like, Kendrick Lamar. I know as much as people love him now, until that beef with Drake, he wasn't highlighted and celebrated. At least I didn't see it until he got in beef. And people, we love bullshit. So they clamor to that. J. Cole, guys like Lupe Fiasco, he don't even make music no more. It's like once you see what they're pushing and what the agenda is, it makes you burnt out. So like you just mentioned and like the difference maker said, it seems like the good guys always finish last is because, like I say, it's because the bad guys morally are willing to do stuff that the good guys won't to get that extra attention. We just have a moral compass that won't let us do some of the things that the bad guys will do. So when they say the good guys finish last, it's just because we don't sacrifice our morals, and some people will.
I'm pretty sure you may or may not have felt this pressure.
Mm-hmm.
However, I want to ask the question because of the things you mentioned. I want to ask you, man, do you feel uh, or have you realized that there's a torch that sometimes you're expected to carry it? And if you do, how did that weight feel early on? Has that weight sunk in? Do you feel the need to continue to do that work in some capacity?
That's a great question, and the way, especially growing up, I think, and it's not just me. I think the children of preachers' kids have an unrealistic expectation, period. And it's more on the outside looking in. You interact with your parents every day. My daddy would
Yeah.
joke back in the day, like, hey, you going to take over the church. And I'm going to tell you a quick story about when I was ETSing out the military. This lady
Yeah.
walked up to me. She was like, you know God? I said, yeah, I know God. I said, she said, you've been called to preach. I just started laughing. I said, no, I said, my daddy a preacher. She said, no, I didn't ask you about your daddy. You've been called to preach. I'm like, no, I said, that's not my walk. But I said, I do respect you, and I do. Sometimes you just have that light on you. So whether it was pressure or just what people expectations are for you of looking at you thinking that you're a preacher's kid and you do that. But like I said, my uncles on both sides of the family, like them street guys. So it was like I had a healthy mix of both. But one thing I never wanted to do was disrespect my father's name. So the pressure of him, like even when I was doing some of the stuff I was doing, I wasn't scared of the police. I was scared of disrespecting my dad's name. So just a real quick story. One time when back growing up in the neighborhood, I was in the ninth grade, and I knew in the village it was certain stuff I can't do because I'm hands on in the neighborhood with daddy. Everybody know I just take off walking, tell Reb, I say hey. So me, my cousin, and one of the cats from the neighborhood, right beside our house, it was the Jubits, and then it had the church. But in that church, everybody know it's like the bar right there's a little ditch. Well, we went down there. We had made a homemade bone where you stick the little blunt in the 3 liter bottle, had a little water. Man, we down there, we getting it in. Man, my cousin, by the time we got through with the session, heart went crazy. So we went to the house, we kind of splashed water on his face. It was just me and him. Other cat that was with us shot back to his house. But he splashed some water on his face. He was coming back around. He was like, heart stop right. He's like, I'm good now. Then it started again. He was like, hey, man, we got to go to the hospital. I said, you for real? He was like, we got to go to the hospital. So I went and told my dad, I said, Daddy, we got to go to the hospital. My cousin, he back here, his heart thumping. So, man, we shoot up low tray. Man, we get to the hospital. And, of course, when something like that go down, they want to know, hey, did anything? Is he taking anything? And so me trying to be slick and get out the situation because my dad is standing right there in the doorway, him and the security guard. I look at my cousin and I'm like, well, I got to say something because if it's something that can help him, I got to get him out this situation. So I say, I said, well, my cousin was smoking. And my cousin looked up at me. I'm thinking he on IVs and all that. I'm thinking he out of. He said, man, tell on yourself too. So I had to tell my pops then. I'm like, man, look, we was back there smoking weed and that's what happened in XYZ. And I could see the disappointment in his face, but what I respected about my dad, that was it. We rode home after we made sure my kinfolk was good and his parents got there. He never told my mom about it, never brought it up again. He knew what I did moving forward, but he never held that against me. That's why I say I love my dad to the fullest because he always allowed me to be myself. So even though other people in the community might have had unrealistic expectations for me, he knew me to my core, and he knew that I wasn't doing nothing to disrespect the name or something, but hey, I was a young man trying to figure out my way, my journey. And it might not have been his same walk, but he knew for the most part, when everything he heard about me, when I was interacting with people in the street, man, Rev, you got a good kid, you got respect. He knew I had my ways. I was sneaky just like any other kid. So that's where the unrealistic expectations came from. But as far as carrying the torch, I do that. And like, I don't want to be I don't want to like you say, I don't want to just because I'm away from the community now. I'm out here in Dallas, so I don't think it would be a real justice for me to just speak on everything that's going on because, like, you got guys like Jarvis, Dominique, difference making. If I miss somebody, it's just because I don't see your work. But those guys are boots on the ground. So, like you say, I try to extend my voice because I'm still connected to the community. I got nieces, I got nephews, I got family members that's still there. So it hurts me to see Alexandria in the top 5 of murder and just poverty and stuff like that. So I try to use my voice to highlight it because I feel like it would be irresponsible for me to get on here and just say what's wrong because I'm not there hands on anymore. So I don't want to be irresponsible. But it has guys outside of difference maker Jarvis, Dominique, and guys like that that's doing tremendous work. I just seen them and it was 5. It was a young lady and another guy there, and I can't remember their name right now. So, look, I'm not dismissing anybody. I want to make that clear. These are just the people I kind of know personally, and I see it a little bit more traffic through them, through following them and stuff like that. But I just seen they did a back-to-school drive. I reposted their event. I made sure to highlight it. I offered Jarvis and let them know, hey, if you want to come on and highlight what you're doing, my platform is always open to do something positive to give back to the community. So as far as just carrying a torch, my dad, even outside of the pulpit, his greatest ministry was in the community and what he did to push the community forward, trying to save guys from, taking the wrong path, trying to save guys from ending up in jail. He even joked with me one time when he went to the jailhouse, because he did a lot of ministry in the jailhouse, going to check up on people and stuff like that. He came home laughing. He said, hey, man, all them guys in the jail told me to tell you, hey, man, you know all them guys. And I just laughed. So my dad knew me. He didn't have any unrealistic expectations for me, but he knew that overall he had a good kid. I just wasn't him. It's hard to be my daddy. So that saying I'm not him is not a bad thing, but he knew his son. I'll just say that.
Yeah, man. And in his honor, real quick, man, if you don't mind, let the world know who your father was, man. And you touched on a lot of the things he did, going into the jailhouse and to the parish and in the prison system, doing that work, encouraging brothers and sisters around the way all the time. And even when letting you be your authentic self and everybody around be their authentic selves, not trying to push or press the word of God, but just be an example of light, like you mentioned. So if you don't mind, just let the people know a little bit about your dad, man, and what's his name, and just to keep his name alive.
My dad, Reverend Clarence Dupart Jr., is, I can say, the most honorable man I've ever known. And my good friend Eric Will out there, he has high regards for my dad. And these are his words. He was like, man, Rev was the closest thing I meant to God. And he just meant the way he carried himself, the way he came back to impoverished communities, wasn't looking for nothing, wasn't in cameras on, would pay 3 or 4 kids insurance to play sports, would take his money out his pocket, help people pay bills, would take people, drive the van around, would go just recruit people to come to church, try to just feed them spiritually. He would go to war with the city when they was way back in the Gap, when they were trying to cement up the swimming pool right there on Broadway and stuff like that. So my dad was a staple in the community even before I was born. There's guys that came up to me at the funeral thanking me for what my dad did for them. It was man, from professional athletes. And when you talk about coaches, as far as like Eddie Robinson and stuff like that, guys that he put in the pros, my dad was the foundation for a lot of youth sports back in the day. And that's another thing I like to see Alexandria incorporate more youth sports, because that's really a ministry and giving kids something to do. I know it's kind of little pop ups here and there, but it's not as strong. I don't feel like as the programs and organizations was back then. And my dad wasn't the owner of those organizations, but he was very implemental in keeping them going. But I want to recognize guys like Lawrence England and Coach Didi, Willie Davis. It was guys all throughout the community that played a part, because they coached alongside with my dad. But they helped a lot of young men that started their sports foundation that later went on to become pros. It was guys coming back to my dad, like Nick Harris, giving him his championship ring when he won one with Oklahoma. It's so my dad, like I said earlier, Reverend Clarence Dupart Jr., man, was a very intricate part in Alexandria, Louisiana, as far as just the foundation of the Black community and the community in general, in totality. He did a lot. He had a lot of respect. And so, like I said, when I was doing what I did, I always wanted to make sure, of nothing else, I didn't smear my dad's name. That was more important to me than anything. Him and my mother's name, keeping them upheld and uplifted, because I knew what high regards the community and our neighborhood. He was one of the first Blacks to move in Acadian Village. That's why I love the village so much. Him, the Browns, it was a couple other people. Like I say, I don't know the total history, but I would just hear the older guys talk about it. My dad talk about it. So when you say Reverend Clarence Dupart Jr. around Alexandria, Louisiana, that name rings bells. So that's who Reverend Clarence Dupart Jr. Was, still is. I'm proud to be his son. I'm proud to be a living lineage of what my dad created and what's still going on through Difference Maker. That's his nephew. That's my uncle's son, his brother. So my dad's legacy is still living on, even when I mentioned Eric Wheeler earlier. He has a youth baseball organization in Houston. My dad had a baseball organization as well called the Crusaders. He named his baseball team Katy Crusaders, and his catchphrase or his theme for it is in his name. And he meant that as in reference to my dad. Everything is done in his name. So my dad did a lot, touched a lot of people that, like I said at the funeral when I spoke, when I asked everybody to stand up, that he touched or impacted the whole church rolls. So my dad's legacy is alive and well. And I'm just happy I got to see it real time. And I knew it wasn't nothing forced. I knew it wasn't nothing phony. And I knew it wasn't nothing fake, because I seen it. And that's why I have so much respect for my dad and what he did.
And I'm so proud of you for continuing to do the work you do through your platform. And I only have a couple more questions for you, man. And one being this: outside of respect that you mentioned on earlier, integrity, and having a heart to give, what's one thing today that you see that the community could actually build from and grow from, that you see that the community is lacking or missing today?
I can sum that up easy for you. I'll make that with love. For some reason, I don't know where we parted ways or where it went wrong. Because even in our generation, we might have had little dust up, little fights here and there. Certain neighborhoods didn't get along. You couldn't go from the valley to Samtown and stuff. It would be fist fights for the most part.
Right.
I don't know where we start seeing each other as enemies. It's like a simple disagreement online or in the mall, or I don't even know if the mall still get tracks like that. But just a similar interaction in the street at the gas station. I'll say that because I know the gas station still be jumping down there. It turns into a murder scene. I'm like, where did we become such enemies that we have to kill each other and take each other out to prove a point? Like, I hate this to my core, that kids today don't value life the way we used to, the way it was instilled in us. Like, life is precious. So if I could pass any message to the youth today, man, let's love on each other. I promise you, we got enough enemies that don't look like us, that's willing to take us out. And the guns and stuff and the liquor stores y'all have access to, they're putting this in our face and making it have easy access to do just what we're doing. So let's not help them out. Let's love on each other. Let's make sure we take our anger and frustration out on where it needs to be. I'm not saying go create violence, but it's enough violence brought to us that we've had to deal with, that we can deflect some of this. Because I think more like Malcolm X. You can't be peaceful with everything. Sometimes you have to make a point when you're put in adverse situations. But the one key thing that's missing to me in our community is love. We don't love on each other enough. And it's come from male, female perspective, with us loving on each other as couples, to just loving on each other as brothers and sisters in the community. So the one word I wish people could take away that we could build off of is love. more love.
Yes. I agree, and I believe just that, man. I think getting to the love, we can get to the unity. And those
Man,
two things
major.
right there, man, that's the game changer, in
Well
my opinion.
said.
So I agree with you 100%, man, 100%. But yo, man, Avery, man, thanks for being with me right today on after the break, man. It's been powerful, man. It's been powerful. I really appreciate your boldness. I really appreciate your confidence. I really appreciate your manhood, man, and leadership, and you continuing to carry the torch and walking in the light that, man, that was taught to you. The seeds that were sown into you, man, and you're carrying it out into the world. Great platforms. And can you tell the
Yeah.
board, man, you have broad conversations, like you mentioned earlier, from sports, man, to community, you know what I'm saying, to entertainment. But I really like the fact that you're a well balanced platform, man. And so, can you tell the people how to tap in with your platform?
Man, first off, I want to say, man, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you seeing the vision of what I'm doing and the message I try to portray and put out in the world. But I see what you're doing too, man, and big ups to what you're doing. Keep at it. I know people think it's easy to just plug in mics and talk, but if you're truly doing something worth building, that foundation has to be solid. But if you want to follow me, man, I don't know if you can see the shirt, but it's AVG on all platforms on YouTube. Or you can look up AVG Podcast, Instagram, AVG underscore podcast on TikTok. Just look for the AVG, man, and you'll probably see my face. That's all I got, man. And one of my things I tell people when I end my episodes is just always visualize your goals, and after that, accomplish visualize goals. So any goal you have, man, stick to it no matter what arena you are in life. Stay goal driven.
And there it is, man. Another great representative. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man,
Yes,
I
wow.
really appreciate your wisdom, man. I really appreciate your work too, man. Much respect to you, Ava, man. Till next time, good brother. Respect
Yes,
to you.
sir.
Outside, got designer frames on my eyes.
I'm out.
I'm really having motion, need a baddie with some alkaline. In the wintertime, she was inside giving gym vibes. Now it's summertime and she outside on IG Live. Popping it just like